I originally planned to do this build as part of Maple Leaf Customs Canada Day celebration, but I'm about 2 weeks too late for that, so happy belated birthday, Canada. Anyhow, this poor little Zylmex Fiat X1 is obviously pretty beat to hell. It's been sitting on the shelf now for a little while, and I've wanted to restore it or do something to it. The event seemed like a good reason. I knew I'd paint it red, and I figured I'd add a white stripe to the sides because I had seen an artist's conception online of some of these, and they had a white stripe on the side of some of those, and it looked pretty good. So that's the direction I take, but I drill this out, use the VIX bit to make it a little easier. It only has one post in the front. Funky plastic base, funky plastic interior, and matching funky glass. The glass is held in place by a small post that I needed to drill out. I don't know if you noticed early on the turntable shot, but there's a round spot on the roof of this. It's because this thing protrudes. When they did it, they must have pounded that post in or something, because I do have to flatten out the roof a little bit. But there you see I got the glass out. Yeah, easy enough. And what was interesting is the two little bumperlets on the back, for lack of a better name for them, those were held in kind of like green light castings, where they have like melted. It's larger. The plastic has a little extra that they melted down on the inside to hold it in place. So I started off with the regular X-Acto knife. Then I remembered, oh yeah, I have this flat blade X-Acto that works so much better for this kind of thing. And so I switched over to that. And sure enough, it just makes cleaning these little inside melted post kind of things so much easier to cut off. Didn't mean those wanted to pop out of there any easier. One did, but the other one, I needed to take a little tiny screwdriver to get it out of there. But once those were out of the way, the casting was ready to hit the stripper. Threw that in citrus strip, as you can see there. Nice hot weather with citrus strip, and man, like in 2 hours, this thing stripped down. It went really well. Drilled it, didn't tap it. Ended up using self-tapping screw on this one, since there's only the one post. The plastic base has a little tongue on it that sticks in a hole in the back, kind of like a license plate frame area. The base, the wheels gotta go. These things are shot. That clip that you see holding the axles down is not metal. I wish it was, like on a lot of other castings. It's just really cheap plastic. I wasn't sure if that was going to pose a problem or not. I figured if it did, I would just, crazy glue the ends down. If it posed a problem. Did not anticipate that it would, but just in case. I've had monoblock wheels sitting around here for years now. And this was one of the rare occasions that I thought they'd look perfect on this build. And those come with the axle. It's kind of I don't know, it's a very soft metal axle. And so it's very easy to crimp, but I wanted to get an idea, kind of what it looked like. And so I like the looks of those wheels on this car. Sizing, the monoblock wheels are very small that I had. So they worked out perfectly to replace the very small wheels on this original casting. The body was beat to hell. I think it's a combination of a casting that's just had a very loved life where it's been through a lot. Kids had a lot of fun with this casting. But between that and it being a somewhat poorly done casting, that posed some problems. So it just needed a lot of cleaning up, and the sides took a little extra work to get them to look anything close to smooth. the panel lines on it, like the door jambs, that kind of thing, are really well done. There's not a lot of detail to the casting itself either, so that kind of helps. There was that high spot in the roof, as you can see here, that I flattened out as much as I was comfortable doing, and I didn't want to get it to the point where I lost, as I'm filing and stuff, obviously I'm being careful of the side detail above the doors, above the rear window, that kind of thing. And so I'm being careful, and I got it to a point that I was pretty happy with how much flatter it was than it had been originally. And again, I can only assume that's got that way from the installation of the glass, that post must be hit pretty hard. Or maybe it was just in this one. I mean, I haven't really looked online to see if others have this same kind of problem. But yeah, it cleaned up decently. um, so yeah, I figured, okay, I got it cleaned up enough. You know, it's looking pretty good at this point. So once I got it to that point, I did hit it with some primer. I liked how it looked after the primer. So then I went and I hit it with Krylon Gloss Banner Red, which I've used on all kinds of things. And then the clear coat was the Model Master Enamel clear coat. Did not put the clear coat on until after I put the decals on the sides. That's the white strip I mentioned earlier. Well, all I did in this case was I took white decal paper, took the X-Acto knife, and cut a thin stripe for each side. And as opposed to printing like white toner decals or ordering white stripes or anything like that, if you have white decal paper, why go through all that effort when you can just create stripes of any size you want very, very easily? Naturally, you want to have a very sharp X-Acto knife when you cut these. And it fought me a little bit, as you can see here, because it is a thin stripe. I made it the exact width I wanted. You know, I didn't want more than this. I didn't want less. It was perfect. Gauzy, gauzy, gauzy time. I threw the glass in gauzy, which can be expected. I did polish it up with flits before doing this. It was in pretty good shape. It wasn't yellow. It wasn't cracked. The glass covers all windows all the way around. The side windows are also there. So I was surprised that none of it was cracked, but it was in really good shape. One other thing I did with gauzy is I did brush it onto the front bumper, the back bumperlets, and that back deck above the engine. That black area that's part of the interior that, oddly enough, is made incorrectly. It's not perfectly square to the rest of the body. But coated those with gauzy after washing all of these naturally in hot soapy water, just to freshen them up. I didn't want to clear coat them. Naturally, the glass I wouldn't, but I didn't want to use like a clear coat paint or something like that on the bumpers. So it worked out pretty well. It really freshened them up. Installed the glass in those rear bumper portions using the resin pin. The Bondic resin pin is the specific one I happen to have, and I've been using now, for a while. I mean, it naturally lasts a long time. Hit it with the resin, then you flip that over, hit it with the UV light that's on the other end of the pin. Couldn't be more convenient. I believe I've seen people use a JB Weld version of this pin. There's all kinds. There's an As Seen on TV version that's out there. So anyhow, then it was time to actually install the monoblock wheels. And, you know, that's a fairly straightforward process. You know, just cut the axle down to size, use the fence pliers to crimp the ends. Again, the axles that they provide are a very soft metal, which works really well with the fence pliers. Double check the size again on it. And then just crimp the ends. Did the same thing for the second set and pop them under that piece of plastic that holds the axles in place. Fortunately, it did not pose a problem. And if anything, the fact that it's a little worn and has more give to it actually lets this thing sit a little lower than if I did, glue down those ends to hold that plastic down tight to the body. The fact that they're a little worn, there's more flex to that plastic, lets it ride a little bit lower, which I liked. So there, drop the interior in place. It's a funky interior, does not fit great. It's sloppy. But it is what it is. And then just put that little back tongue in place and then put the screw in. A very straightforward casting. Nothing fancy at all to this casting. But I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. I think the wheels made a big difference. Love the stripe on the sides. I really do. So there you see where we started. Again, this poor little beat to hell casting. It's this well-loved casting. And, just a little work. It obviously needed to be stripped and filed down quite a bit. You can't really tell in the pictures how bad those sides really were metal-wise. You can almost see the bare metal, naturally, the paint. See how crooked and weird that insert is for the back? Anyhow, here's where it ended up. And, for Krylon rattle can paint and a rattle can clear coat, I don't know. I'm pretty darn happy. Yeah, I know, I stick to rattle canning. And I'm sure some of you are like, why doesn't he airbrush? Well, I think I'm getting decent results rattle canning. Anybody can rattle can. Heck, I'm sure everybody has a spray can somewhere around their house. So there you have it. Again, happy belated birthday, Canada. And everybody check out the Maple Leaf Customs builds for Canada if you haven't already. Again, that was 2 weeks ago. He's already done a recap video and everything. Check those out. There's some really cool builds in there. And I hope you like this one. Everybody, thanks for watching these videos. Stay safe and healthy out there. I'll catch you in the next one.